All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. Because today, man, we are tackling what is probably the most ancient, the most fundamental, and frankly, the absolute ultimate mystery of human existence. And don't worry, we're not treating this as some dry, dusty academic topic today. We are looking directly at the big question. Who am I? I mean, really, who am I? Am I this physical body? Am I my emotions? Am I my intellect? You know, we get so incredibly caught up in our jobs, our relationships, our stuff, that we just unconsciously assume those things are who we are. But think about it. When those things change, or when they completely disappear, who is the I that's still left behind? To unpack this, we are going to look at some of the absolute highest philosophical teachings known to mankind, and we're going to bring them to life through some really incredible stories and analogies.
So I want to hook you right out of the gate with a story about a king named Janaka. Picture this. One night, King Janaka is sleeping peacefully in his luxurious palace. But suddenly, he falls into this vivid, absolutely terrifying nightmare. In the dream, his kingdom is violently attacked, his entire army is defeated, and he is cast out into exile. He's wandering through a neighboring kingdom, he's wounded, completely exhausted, and literally starving. Finally, somebody hands him a single, meager bowl of starch to eat, but right before it even reaches his trembling lips, this bird swoops down out of nowhere and knocks the bowl straight into the dust. The king is just so utterly overcome with misery that he collapses to the ground, crying out in pure agony. And at that exact, precise moment, he wakes up. His chest is just pounding, he's drenched in sweat, but he's sitting perfectly safe in his royal bed. His guards rush into the room, but the king totally ignores them. He just looks around at this opulent palace, remembers the sheer raw terror of the dream, and he starts asking this one question over and over again. Such, yes, such. Is that true, or is this true? Was the immense suffering of the defeated king the reality, or is the safety of the waking king the reality?
Well, to answer the king's frantic mystery, a great sage arrives and reveals a truth that actually forms the absolute core of the Mandukya Upanishad. Now, to give you some context, there are 108 of these ancient Indian philosophical texts called Upanishads. But the Mandukya, it's famous for being the absolute smallest of the entire bunch. It consists of only 12 mantras, just 12, literally a dozen. But seriously, do not let its size fool you. It is universally regarded as the absolute toughest text to grasp. People often compare it to a tiny little ghost pepper, incredibly small but unbelievably potent. In fact, it's said that if you are genuinely seeking ultimate spiritual freedom, simply grasping the reality of these 12 little mantras is the whole shebang. It's entirely sufficient.
Okay, moving right along to Section 1. The suspects are 3 false identities.
Because you see, to figure out who we actually are, we kind of have to figure out who we are not first. So let's investigate our 3 suspects. These are 3 distinct identities that we unconsciously cycle through every single day of our lives, just automatically assuming they are our true selves. Let's break this daily cycle down. Suspect number 1 is the waker. This is exactly who you think you are right now. You're in a physical body, you're using your sense organs, and you're interacting with the physical world outwardly. Okay, suspect number 2 is the dreamer. When you go to sleep tonight and you start dreaming, your physical body is essentially paralyzed in bed, right? But you experience this entire, vast world inwardly, completely constructed out of your own mind. And then, suspect number 3 is the sleeper. This is that state of deep, dreamless sleep. No physical world, no dream world. Just a mass of unexpressed, absolute blankness. Now, the ancient text makes a truly radical claim here. It says you are not the waker, you are not the dreamer, and you are not the sleeper. They're all just temporary states.
And hey, just to cover all our bases here, you aren't even that weird in-between consciousness either. You know exactly the one I'm talking about, where you're sitting in this incredibly long, heavy lecture, fighting sleep with everything you've got, and you drift into that hazy twilight zone. Then you look down at your notebook an hour later, and your class notes have turned into complete, absolute gibberish because your subconscious mind started remixing the teacher's voice. The text is very, very clear on this. You are not any of these constantly changing states of experience.
Let's actually make this super relatable. Let's look at how this builds. Think about your own mind for a second. Compare your mind during a really highly stressful event in the past, say, I don't know, your 10th grade board exams, to the mind you have right now today. Back then, the things you knew, the things you cared so deeply about, your intense, overwhelming anxieties, that mind was completely, fundamentally different from the mind you have right this second. The mind is just a series of continuous changes. The body is continuously changing. But, and here's the kicker, the watcher who experienced the anxieties of those 10th grade exams is the exact same watcher experiencing this explainer right now. The circumstances absolutely change, but the pure consciousness watching them, it doesn't flinch.
Now, it's really fascinating to contrast this ancient wisdom with modern research. Western psychology and neuroscience, they often tend to equate the mind with consciousness. For instance, there's this prominent researcher, Susan Blackmore, and she uses this brilliant analogy for the self. She basically says the I is just like a refrigerator light, right? When you open the door, when you actively look for your ego or your I, the light is on. But when you close the door, like when you lose yourself in a deep flow state, the I simply disappears. She argues there is no permanent self. But the Eastern philosophy we're exploring today counters this by saying, okay, yes, the ego is absolutely like the fridge light that turns on and off. But what about the awareness that knows the light is off?
And boom, that brings us to the ultimate reveal of our big mystery. The actual answer to who am I is what the Mandukya Upanishad calls Turiya, which honestly just translates to the fourth. But here is the massive secret. Turiya is not some separate, floaty, fourth mystical dimension. Not at all. It is simply the pure, unchanging consciousness that acts as a constant witness. It's the permanent light that stays on, illuminating the waker, the dreamer, and the deep sleeper. It is the exact same witness that told King Janaka his nightmare wasn't real, but paradoxically also whispers to him that his waking life is just another passing state.
All right, moving into section 2, the evidence. Specifically, the station master.
Now, I know grasping this idea of pure consciousness, of Turiya, can feel really abstract and kind of tough to hold on to. But look at this brilliant visual metaphor from the source. Imagine a station master standing on the platform of a really busy railway station. Step 1. The Rajdhani Express speeds in. It's loud, it's packed full of people, endless activity, hopes, problems. This is your waking state arriving, and the station master just watches it all. Then, the train leaves. Step 2. A quiet, much slower goods train rolls in. It's smoky, surreal, maybe carrying some really strange cargo. This is your dream state. The station master watches it, and then it departs. Step 3. The platform is completely, utterly empty. There are no trains at all. This is deep sleep. But notice what just happened. The station master never left the platform. You are the station master. You are the pure consciousness watching the busy trains of waking, the quiet trains of dreaming, and the blankness of deep sleep. You are totally apart from all of them and completely untouched by any of them.
Okay, let's jump to section 3, the evidence, part 2, the gold and the ornaments.
Because you might be wondering, how does this pure consciousness actually interact with our everyday physical world? Because it's not just sitting far away watching from some distant mountaintop. Look at this comparison. Imagine you have a golden bangle, a golden necklace, and a golden ring. These are 3 entirely different objects, right? They have 3 different names and 3 different forms. But what is the actual fundamental reality of all 3? It's pure gold. If you melt that bangle down to make a necklace, the bangle is destroyed. If you melt the necklace to make a ring, the necklace is destroyed. The names and the forms are entirely temporary. But the gold survives every single transformation. The waking state, the dream state, and the deep sleep state are literally just temporary ornaments. The pure consciousness, Turiya, is the gold that exists in and through absolutely all of them.
So the crucial takeaway here is this. If someone tells you the true reality is the gold, not the bangle, what do? Well, if you don't really understand, you might throw away the bangle, the necklace, and the ring, and go off frantically searching for some separate, mystical, elusive thing called gold. But you will never, ever find it. There is literally no gold apart from the ornaments. In that exact same way, you cannot find pure consciousness by throwing away your life, or ignoring the physical world, or just running away. The pure consciousness is in and through every single thing you are experiencing right now.
Which brings us right into section 4. Spiritualizing everyday life.
So how do we actually apply this profound, ancient philosophical investigation to our modern day-to-day living, answering the so what of it all? I absolutely love how the great philosopher Swami Vivekananda concluded this thought. He said, and I quote, "He who runs away from the world to meditate and die in a Himalayan cave has missed the way. The way is to spiritualize your everyday life. True realization isn't about escaping reality. It's not about becoming cold or indifferent to the suffering of other people. Once you realize you are the pure consciousness, that you are the gold, you simultaneously realize that everyone and everything else is made of that exact same gold. You spiritualize your everyday life by recognizing that underlying oneness in literally every person you interact with and every challenge you face."
And wow, that brings us to the end of our explainer today. We started with King Janaka's terrifying, sweaty nightmare, and we've traveled all the way through the 12 mantras of the Mandukya Upanishad to arrive at this one truth. You are not the passing states of the mind or the body. You are the permanent witness to them.
So I want to leave you with a final provocative question to take out into your day. As you step away from this and go about your daily routine, when you look at the world today, are you going to get completely lost playing the role of the waker? Or will you remember that you are the pure consciousness watching the waker? The choice is entirely yours. Keep observing, keep questioning, and I will catch you in the next explainer.